Welcome to Raw Radio.
And we are live.
Hello. Hello. Oh boy. We just had a couple of minutes of non-recorded silliness, and I'm trying to gather myself to get through some pretty important, I think, important stuff that we're talking about today.
Yeah. So
And
what did we just wrap up, Gary?
well, we just wrapped up with Emily Kwok, and if people don't know who she is, um, check her out, and you're going to learn a lot. This is not your typical jujitsu practitioner. She's been in it for a long time, and she's made some huge strides in what she calls peak performance.
Yeah, I mean, we don't necessarily mean physical performance is more of a mental approach to life, mental approach to game, jiu-jitsu game in particularly, but I think it can be really easily leaped into other areas of other sports and other activities, and then your life, day-to-day operational life too. As she's going through her life story, she really talks about how she got into a dark zone due to circumstances she finds herself in, and then how she gets out of that by surrounding herself with right people and really digging deep into who she is and what does she do and why does she do specific things. It was
Mhm.
very interesting to talk about all of this. I think the big factor for me was, you know, how do you turn your life to start performing for yourself versus for others? And this is the
Mhm.
hard part, I think,
Yeah.
because we find ourselves. Let's forget about jujitsu for a moment. We find ourselves in our lives, and very often by nature, we try to impress others, or we trying to make sure that others know that we're doing everything in our power so they are happy with us. And often by doing so, we forget what makes us happy and what we need to do and why we are doing things for us to really fulfill what we need to do in our lives. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I think that we're a very self-conscious people and or creature, and you're for me, and I know for a lot of other people, you're always worried about what the others are thinking. Even if you know, man, I gave it my all and I did a good job, whether it's at work or at home, it doesn't matter. You still think, oh, especially if you fail, you think they think I suck. They don't think I care. I'm a failure in their eyes. And it's really hard. Where that stems from is hard to figure out. But I think a lot of us do it, and you need to understand that that's a perception that you're putting on yourself in most cases. And you have to be able to overcome that in some way.
Well, and also spinning to the other side, when we drive for success, it's because others count on us. We say, my
Often,
team is counting on me. I can't let them down.
yeah,
And often we put ourselves in situations where we get burned out. We are
yeah,
frustrated. We lose, and this is the deep part, we lose passion for what we were doing, right? And Emily talked about this where she started jiu-jitsu with a lot of passion. It was accidental, but she develops this passion for jiu-jitsu, for the art of jiu-jitsu, for the sport of jiu-jitsu. And then along the way, it gets to the point where she doesn't even want to train jiu-jitsu. It's just
hmm
it's painful and it's a hassle, right? And like I can even relay myself to the points of in my life there were things where I just don't want to do this anymore.
yeah,
This is more trouble. This is more um um inconvenience. It's just I don't want to do this anymore. And then you really start questioning why in the world I'm still here.
yeah. And is it external or is it internal? Are you doing this because people are doing it to you, right? They're making you feel that way,
Yeah.
or is it something internal? You've got to figure that out, and if it's something internal, then you need to possibly get help for it,
Well, it's
or take
almost
necessary
hard because
steps.
it could be a combination of two, right?
Yeah,
It could be
absolutely,
it
for
could be
sure.
the people you surround yourself with, or the surroundings around you create a circumstance which makes you question things,
Hmm.
right? Am I really that guy? Am I really doing this wrong? Or, or is this just this one person? Is everybody really thinking this about me? I mean, that's a um, very powerful thought,
Hmm.
right? Somebody told me recently the environment is stronger than a will, and this is is
Yeah,
an interesting
I was there with
conversation.
you, and I can't remember who said that, but
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
this is the interesting conversation, right? If you put yourself in an environment where you have a certain thought pressured in, at some point your mind will start adapting that, confirming to what you're being pressured into, and then at that point probably you're going to start questioning, am I really, maybe I'm the wrong one here,
Hmm.
right? And that's the hard part, identifying these triggers and really pushing to what works well for you, right?
Yeah, and it's hard to. I think it's really, really hard to identify those, and I think it's hard for people to have like this. I don't want to call it an epiphany, but you have a moment where I think oftentimes where you've got to make a decision, and it's a hard decision, but you are the only one who can make it, and it's, do you want to continue down,
Hmm.
path A or path B? And you got to figure out, you got to figure out how you got to that decision, I think, in order to make the correct one. I don't know if that makes sense, but all the years of, if you're talking jujitsu, all the years of training and your coaches and your teams and your, how you act on the mat, or if it's anything else in life from your upbringing or your career, who you're involved with, what your leaders are like. You gotta process all that information before you can decide which way you're going to go in the fork in the road there. I think that might be the hardest part of it, because it's easy to buckle down and just put on blinders and not, it's not easy, but one option is to put on blinders,
Hmm.
put your head down, power through it, and almost, you're almost in denial at that point.
Not
Um,
almost, you are.
you are. Uh, I think the reflection, um, and the self awareness is a lot harder to get and to use for making decisions.
Right. And unfortunately, we find ourselves in that situation and these circumstances in jiu-jitsu academies. And I think that's because we are such a close group, right? Jiu-jitsu is intimate, right?
Oh yeah,
We put a lot
absolutely.
of trust in our partners. We
Hmm.
put a lot of trust into the instructors. We and Emily talked about it. We kind of adapt the system that instructors are presenting to us, and we kind of mold ourselves into to fit into this environment. And the moment you start doing this against what you believe in, this is where the frictions start coming in, and often this turns into something a little bit more serious, and there's misunderstandings, miscommunications, and hopefully this never leads into very serious situations, but this is how it all starts, right? So I think believing in yourself, and one finding a place where you really I think believe in what they do, and you can really understand how you can benefit from it, is really, really important here.
Yeah, I think you have to find a place that fits. A lot of times places don't fit. And it could be anything from something as simple as, in Emily's case, let's say, or in any small female's case, well, there's really, it's all these big ass dudes that, I can't really train with, right? Or they won't adapt to training with me. Um, or it could be some place where there's just a negative
Right.
attitude that permeates throughout the whole academy. There's a negative attitude. We've talked about me going back to my old job from time to time, and then I say things like this where we know I'll never be allowed back. But there's a negative attitude that permeates throughout the entire
Hmm.
facility.
Hmm.
How did it get there? Who knows? But it doesn't matter. You're now a part of it. And how do you let it affect you? Do you feed into it? Let it, take you over, or do you analyze it, become aware of it, and be like, you know what, I got to step out of here because this just isn't going to work for
But
me.
at the same time, it's so difficult to identify these things. And this is what you
Yeah,
talked about. It's like,
it's so easy to
who's
point fingers, right?
right? It's
Yeah.
always easy to point a finger, right? But
Uh-huh.
it's how do you know that you're right or you're wrong? How do you
Right.
know that this is what it should
Yeah,
be
sure. Right.
versus
Yeah.
I'm actually the one I'm the only one who's raising the hand. Like these are challenging
Yeah. Maybe it's
situations,
me,
right?
right?
Right.
Yeah.
And especially at the larger groups, whether jujitsu or not jujitsu, but the larger groups, finding the dynamic, it is so hard. It is so difficult, and making the changes even harder. But I'm pretty confident that if one is able to identify that, and if one is able to make those changes, their life will be impacted in a very positive way in the long run,
Hmm.
simply because remaining in the toxic environment is going to bring, you know, one very poor performance mentally, right?
Yeah.
That's what she was talking about once, right?
Yeah, this is how we started, right?
That's how it
Performance.
started, right? Right. It's you don't think, first of all, you don't think about yourself anymore. You in this toxic environment of these circumstances, and then
Yeah.
it's hard to really do anything in a positive
Well,
way, and then
sure.
even take care of yourself.
Yeah, you step out on the mat, and I don't compete, but so I'm only imagining. But you step out on the mat, and you're thinking, I don't want to blow this for my instructor. I don't want to make my team look bad. Do I deserve? I don't even deserve this belt if I lose.
Hmm.
What am I doing here? Uh, or you take it home with you. And it's like I don't. You start thinking you don't deserve this family. You don't. You start chipping away at all the positivity that's in your life, right? Because you have these things swirling around in your head, and you got to make a clear conscious choice to be like, no, I need to do this for me. I need to compete for my own gratification.
Hmm.
And if I fail, well, then what do I learn from it? How do I change it so I can get better next time? Right. And if you're at work, it's kind of the same thing. And if you're at home, it's like, why am I coming home to an environment that is negative, and there's always arguing, and there's whatever the case may be? How do you take a step back, look at it, and say, okay, how can I respond to this to change it all in a positive way for me? Because if you don't do it for yourself, it's never going to happen. You're never going to make the people around you happy. If you're not happy, you're never going to succeed, and have a fulfilling career or family life
Yep.
if you're not happy. You
Yep.
cannot please everyone all the time. That
Yep.
stuff eats away at you.
Yep.
And then you become resentful. You
Hmm.
resent your family, you resent your teammates, you resent your coaches, you resent the organization that you're working for or competing in, whatever the case may be. And then where do you go from there?
Yeah, I mean, one thing came to my mind just as you were talking. Often you hear, my kids come first, my job comes first, my spouse comes first. And I think in some point we want to challenge that
Yeah.
to the fact of, why aren't you? That's number one.
Yeah.
Because if
And
you are happy, if you are healthy, if you are in physical or mental state where you need to be, I'm pretty confident that your kids are going to be doing great. Your job performance is going to be on a
mhm.
high level. Your spouse will be happy, right?
Yeah.
Those relationship between family and friends will be healthy, right? But the
Yeah.
moment our mental mental health starts declining, and the stress starts rising, and the pressures
Mhm.
increases, we don't take care of ourselves, and then everything else is a domino effect.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And it's not being selfish. I don't want
No,
people often look at it that way.
no.
And when I was an EMT for a while in some pretty hairy places in Chicago, and in my training, it was always scene safety. You need to make sure that you're not the next victim,
Mhm.
right? So when you walk into a place, you have to survey your surroundings. You got to make sure that it's safe for you to enter, so that
Yep.
you can start taking care of the people that need to be taken care of, right? And how I'm trying to relate that is, if you don't take care of yourself
Mhm.
first, how are you going to be able to take care of your family? You know, put family first, put your career first. You're not. Put them second, put them, your own pecking order is your own pecking order.
Mhm.
But if you aren't taking care of yourself in order that you can perform mentally and physically, to then take care of others, it's just not going to work out.
Yep. What do they say on airplanes? Put your mask on first, then assist your children.
Yeah, no, I don't know about that though.
What do you mean? That's what they do.
I know. Oh, that's what they say. Yeah, but if the plane's going down, man,
Oh.
all bets are off.
All right, never mind. I wanted to finish this on like a smart note, but
Yeah. Well, I
you
guess
ruined
then
the
I'm
whole
put.
thing.
Yeah. Hmm. Well, no, we're right about that. Yeah, I put the mask on myself, and then I can help you out.
All
Yeah.
right, that was a poor recovery, but okay.
No, it's fine. Don't worry.
That
About
was the longest takeaway, I think.
No, we've
No?
gone on for 20 minutes or something.
All right. Well,
at
let's
a
wrap
time.
this up.
But-
I mean, the point is, you should listen to Emily talk about some of these obstacles, some of those life lessons that she has shared
Mhm.
with us. And they are deep. They are deep. This is not the funniest episode, I'll tell you, but definitely there's a lot of gems in there. I made tons of notes, as I always do, but this time there are some good ones in there.
Yeah, open up a little bit, take it in, absorb it, and I think you'll walk away with some great knowledge, and you'll be a better person for it.
And don't forget, do you wash your belt? The Raw
Do
Radio.
wash your belt.
The rawradio.com.
Yes.
The Fuji geese are waiting for you. Make sure you submit, and then make sure you claim your prize, for crying out loud.
That's right.
What are you guys doing?
You've got a great new gi to hang in your closet to show off to all your training partners. Definitely do it. And then listen once a month. Listen for your name or your email address, and then check your email. Check your spam. Check your junk to see if we're in there. Check the junk to see if the
Check
Roll
the
Radio
junk.
is in there, and claim your prize.
All right, Gary.
All right, sir.
On to the next one.
Yes, sir. We'll see you soon.
Later.
Peace.
Thank you for listening to Raw Radio. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to leave us a review and help us make the show even more amazing. For future episodes, check out our website and follow us on all major podcast platforms. Take care.